An AI chief of staff, which does not exist. They are not the same thing. It's like calling a stethoscope a doctor. It's ridiculous. But you do need a task manager. You need something that's going to hold you accountable. Okay.
Hi, Rachel.
We're back.
Oh, that always sounds so unnatural, doesn't it?
I keep thinking of Bob Barker
Another
when we
week.
start. Like, he was the quintessential American TV game show host, Bob Barker. He was always like, welcome
Whoa,
to
straight
The
up my head.
Price is Right. And that's how I feel when we start these.
I have a feeling that the Price is Right that I saw in the UK was very different to the Price is Right in the US.
For sure.
I saw a couple of episodes and they are very, very different.
Yeah, totally different.
So I was on LinkedIn the other day. Actually, I think it was yesterday.
I know, because you've gotten your LinkedIn groove back. Yeah.
I have. We'll come back to that. But I saw that something that really made me think of you. I was thinking, oh, should I tag Rachel? I was like, no, I won't on this one. Mainly because I knew that you needed to get some other stuff done and I didn't need to distract you with that. But it was an interesting take on the AI chief of staff argument. And before just keep on the starting blocks. So it said, and I'm going to paraphrase because I haven't got it in front of me, but it said that most people will never be able to have a chief of staff or afford a chief of staff. So the only way to go is have an AI chief of staff that can do all the things that a chief of staff can do for you, but it's AI. Now, I know I've got lots of thoughts about the legitimacy of that argument, but I would love to hear
Let
what
me
you
just
think.
tell you, Suzi, I have more thoughts than you do by a country mile.
I feel like I've wound up the toy and now I'm like, off you go.
Off you go. I mean, I should say, first of all, I have to sort of thank the AI chief of staff concept, because in some ways it helped to build my brand on LinkedIn when I had no idea what the hell I was doing with a brand. Because now people actually email me or DM me with these links of AI chief of staff. And I have absolutely no qualms whatsoever explaining to anyone who has one that they are in fact completely wrong. And I do it in really the nicest way possible, by which I mean I hold nothing back. Because, oh my God, where do I even start? So I think that this started, I don't know, a year ago, maybe a little less, but everyone seems to have an AI chief of staff, except that is an oxymoron, because you cannot have something that's AI and be a chief of staff. AI chiefs of staff read calendars and I read rooms and people and figure out where organizations are stuck. I'm sure you can plug in a bunch of baloney into AI and it'll shoot out a bunch of crap about maybe what's wrong. But again, the chief of staff in my mind is the omniscient narrator in the room. And AI cannot know what the hell everybody is thinking all the time at the same time. I do think, and let me just say this too, which is, I am not under any delusion that AI is coming after a massive part of the chief of staff role. I get that. I'm actually quite comfortable with it. And you and I have had this conversation before. And we talked about it in a podcast that we did, which is, there was a Japanese company that when they integrated AI into their business model, it wasn't how are we going to replace people? Their question was, how do we make people their best selves? How do we make sure that the people that we have are performing the absolute best that they can? And how can we use AI to support them? Which is the way you should think about this if you're not an idiot. But as we all know, there are lots of idiots in the world. However, Jensen Huang did this really interesting thing where he said, the US is mostly terrified of AI, and the Chinese are mostly thrilled with AI. To which I wanted to say to him, well, yes, because their governments are slightly different. One believes in freedom of thought and freedom of all sorts of things, and the other government really has no interest in that. So AI is seen as an opportunity to be free or to delve into things deeply, whatever. But here's my problem, which is the chief of staff plays the most important function in an organization. Well, it's not the most important, that's the CEO, but the most unique value in that they oversee the entire organization. They see what's happening on the staff level. They see what's happening in the C-suite. They see what's happening with the CEO, and they're responsible for making sure that that's all aligned and moving forward. An AI tool, while fabulous, I mean, it has absolutely changed my life. It has allowed us to build our business. It's done all the things. And I am delighted by it pretty regularly, although I yell at Claude every once in a while. But that is not a tool that can read people, personalities, understand power dynamics, figure out where people are cross-talking in cross-purpose. There is nothing about an AI tool that can really resemble a chief of staff for now. There are lots of people out there, including I'd like to pitch Caitlin Ferguson, who says you can actually build a keystone and judgment. And I've built a judgment spine, but I'm still telling you, we're not at the point where you can sort of switch out a chief of staff. Look, the AI is a task
Whose
manager.
Judgment?
Whose judgment?
That's my
Your
question
judgment.
on that.
Right.
Whose judgment? And that's the thing it's to say AI can end up with judgment, I don't doubt, but whose judgment?
Well,
that would be my question.
Your thing
my
is that you think they hallucinate. Yeah, there's some hallucination, but they've gotten better.
They do,
Suzi.
absolutely. Not enough for me, and not enough
fair,
that I don't notice it.
You're a total control freak, so I get that.
But my judgment's different to your judgment. Even though we're aligned on a lot of things, we have different judgment of things. We view things differently. Yep. We have different experience. There was another interesting conversation that I was attending where someone brought up the basically making a double of you in AI. And I was like, where would I even start? Because, and this is just my thoughts, it's not just about the now. It's not just about sort of what I would do now. When I am thinking, when I am looking at things, when I am evaluating anything, I'm taking in, often quite subconsciously, huge amounts of experience, situations throughout my life for as long as I remember. Maybe that was when I was a child or more recently, and everything in between. And all of those different experiences, all of those different interactions have got me to where I am now, made me the person I am. how would you even start to actually download that essence and make a double?
Well, two things come to mind, first of all, which is number one, there should never be a world in which there are two of me, because I think the world can barely handle one of me. Putting that aside, I think, part of pontificating about the future of AI, while a very interesting intellectual endeavor, I don't really see much point to it, if only because, and I've made this point multiple times, when the iPhone dropped in 2007, nobody sat there and thought, oh, this is going to destroy teenage lives. Nobody predicted that. Nobody had any idea what the hell was going to happen. People thought it was going to be this amazing tool, and it is, but it also has tremendous complexities around it that make it enormously difficult for teenagers to thrive, for people to thrive. I mean, I was in Philadelphia a couple of this past weekend, and I went on my old stomping grounds at the University of Pennsylvania, and there's a famous thoroughfare like through the campus. It's called Locust Walk. And when I was in college, and this dates me, you walked down there and you saw everybody, and it was, hi, how are you? And here's what's happening this Saturday, and buy tickets here and do this and do that. And now it's virtually silent. I mean, there's no talking because everybody has their head in their cell phone. And it's this like beautiful campus. And I thought to myself, I'm sure that having a phone and AI would have been enormously helpful in college. It probably would have made my life easier in a countless number of ways. But I don't envy any of these guys because the social aspect is missing, and it's deeply problematic because really the social aspect is like half the fun of this, right? I mean, getting to know you, getting to know some other women on LinkedIn by talking to them and having conversations with them has actually been a real joyful part of this particular journey that we're on. And although I hate using the word journey, but nevertheless, it's made it fun to get to know these people, to get to know you, to get to know your husband and your kids and all of the quirks and things that happen in any person's life. And you just miss that when you're sort of sitting hunkered down behind a computer and you don't talk to people. I don't know. That's my thought.
I was just
Where do you
thinking there
go
that
from there?
you asked the question. No, you asked the question last week about organizations who are remote, and actually how do you get that social? How do you get that interaction? How do you get that? You've just answered your own question. You've done it yourself in our working relationship. And it just takes a little bit of a different mindset.
It does. But Suzi, I'm going to push back on you a little bit because here's the thing. Both of us have had a foundation of social skills that have helped us to evolve and grow to a point where we can actually formulate this kind of relationship.
I'll take that one. Yeah.
Because I'm really concerned that my 4-year-old is not going to have that. And I mean, there's more material there than I know what to do with in terms of how my 4-year-old and my chief of staff life intersect.
Wait till you get to the teenage years.
I really can't wait. I just can't wait. And yeah, love my kid. Totally love and adore him. He's hilarious. But I don't know what kind of social skills he's going to have because he now knows at the ripe old age of 2, he was swiping. I mean, it was like Tinder for nursery school kids. I mean, it was just insanity. And so I really am concerned that, well, I'm concerned about two things, right? One is that because we don't have return to work and we're doing this all in offices, it's very hard to sort of establish a rhythm of the business and create sort of the mechanisms you need and the opportunities and sort of the physical space that you need in order to build relationships that really are sticky. But on the other side of all of this is that I'm very concerned that the chief of staff might be a dying art, in that if you don't have the foundational skills to better understand how people maneuver and navigate and position themselves, you're never going to do this job well, because that's a huge part of it, is figuring out where are the threats, where are the risks, where are the problems, how can we solve them? And I'm concerned that my kid and his generation are not really going to be able to do that, mostly because they will have absolutely no foundational skills from which to work from which to work.
I think if I answer that, we have the risk of going down a whole different philosophical road. But I just want to tell you a little story about my grandfather.
Okay.
And I'm going to say I got my love of politics from my grandfather. We had very different political views, but he just made me so politically aware from a young age that it was brilliant. And I remember one day seeing him, and my sister's a little bit younger than me. And he had said, I can't get, and this is going to date it, I can't get the video recorder to work. And before I said anything, my sister, who was probably about 5 at the time, and he was called Dan Dan because when I was young, I couldn't say granddad. So he ended up Dan Dan. And even when we were older, so in my 20s, and we'd saw him in the pub or somewhere, he would have my friends calling him Dan Dan, which he hated. And didn't hate, but he did find
I
it
kind of
very,
love
very
hating.
unnerving that he had adults calling him Dan Dan that weren't related to him. Anyway, my sister, without skipping a beat, she was about 5. She said, "Oh my gosh, Dan Dan, you've got the child lock on," and that's what sprung to my mind when you were talking about your son swiping and the different generation things, because I think it just happens, and they will have different skills, they will have different experiences, but so will all of their generation. But actually, that makes me think about what do you need to be a chief of staff? Because we built the chief of staff readiness assessment, because we're very, very aligned on this one, that some parts of the role cannot be taught. Some parts of the core person cannot be taught. You either have that and can build your skills and experiences, or it really isn't the right type of role. And I think we both came to this from the same position, that we were often asked, so many people, can I be a chief of staff?
Yep.
Do I have what it takes? Do I have the experience to be a chief of staff?
Yep.
And actually, that was always the wrong question. Is the chief of staff role the right role for you? Do you have the core wiring to be able to be a chief of staff? Because it takes, again, a certain mindset of having low ego, not wanting to be the center of attention all the time. I'm going to go off on a tangent now, but which is part of the reason why I think the stepping stone of those comments and narrative I see about saying that you can be a sort of apprentice CEO and learn from the
Oh,
founder.
yeah, that's completely bananas. Totally
You
bonkers.
don't want someone
Yeah,
in that role who wants to be the
that's right.
CEO.
That's
You
right.
need someone who is working next to you so that you can be the best CEO. I know we're not going to over index, but you don't want to be looking over your shoulder thinking, are they after my job? That's not to
That's
say you don't want to help develop them, you don't want to help
of
them grow,
course.
but it's growing in a different direction. And there's three things that I think are key for a chief of staff. One is the wiring, which can't really be learned. You either have it or you don't. The second is the capabilities. And then the last part, which you can learn and develop, is the actual skills. I've completely lost my train of thought.
Because, so here's what I was going to say, which is, and if you dig a little bit deeper down, particularly around the wiring, I think, I sort of always am conflicted about providing this kind of guidance because I think it's incredibly privileged. And this idea that you should enjoy and love your work is a very new, modern concept. People did not enjoy their work in the Industrial Revolution, but they did it to feed their kids and to have a life. Work has now sort of become so unencumbered and it pervades every part of your life that there is this desire and element of, I want it to have purpose. I want it to make a the things that motivate you. Some people are motivated by money. Others are motivated by purpose. It's a whole thing. And I just had this thought of how AI, Elon Musk and all of these other guys are just keep saying, yeah, there won't be any need to work. And, I think we talked about this in an earlier episode, which is people need purpose. They need, whether it's to get up in the morning so they can afford to have a family and their kid, whatever, or to enjoy their lives and go travel and do interesting things. Although you could argue that the two are not mutually exclusive. Right now, they are for me because I have a 4-year-old. But regardless, people need to have a reason to get up in the morning. It's really important. And I think we're always going to need people to work, and we're always going to need people to sort of enjoy it. And part of the wiring question is, it's not just, do you have a low ego? It's, do you enjoy being in an environment where you are not the center of attention? Do you enjoy helping others become their best selves? Do you derive satisfaction from that? Because if you don't, this is definitely not the role for you, because it comes with so much other crap that you have to endure in order to do this well. And it's very stressful. It's very isolating. It's something, it requires sort of a tremendous sense of self, a self-awareness that you need in order to thrive in this particular work. And I think part of the reason why we built the Chief of Staff Readiness Assessment was certainly to answer the question, am I capable of being a Chief of Staff? Because when I meet you for 2 minutes, I'm good, but I'm not that good. And I can't tell, whether you're really equipped to do this. But the other question that we're answering is, would you actually enjoy doing this? Would this be something that you get pleasure out of? Because the trade-offs are extraordinary and enormous. And I'll never forget Kim Hawkins, who's somebody that everybody should be following on LinkedIn, although she just had a baby. And so she's very taken and occupied by this little baby. Um, but she wrote about how isolating it is and how you need to pick a partner who you can talk to. There are all sorts of ways in which you need to build support outside of your job so that you don't completely fall apart while you're inside it. And I think, it's not just that the readiness assessment is designed to help you figure out if you're aligned to the role and if you have the skills and sort of all of the things that you need, but it's also, are you going to enjoy this? Are you going to like it? Do you think it will challenge you and make you interested and interesting? Because those are real questions to ask now that work dominates our lives so much.
I think it answers the question between will you thrive or survive, if it's going to be distilled down into a couple of words. Because thriving in a role and surviving are two very, very different things. When you are
Yeah.
doing something that either you enjoy, you get purpose from, it gives you energy. When you are surviving in a role, it takes it away, and it sometimes will cost too much. I
Yeah. It's a
think I
very
know I
enervating.
can't speak for other people.
Yeah. It's,
I have done roles. I've worked in environments that have cost, not that I couldn't do the job, I couldn't do the role. There was brilliant people, but it cost me more than I would get out of it. And that takes its toll.
I mean, I
And
think in this job market, it's hard to make those kinds of assessments, although I think we have tools that really help people do that, particularly the fit and friction, which we'll talk more about in later episodes. But, look, there are some people who have to feed their kids. I mean, the number of times I'm logged onto LinkedIn and somebody writes, I've drained my entire savings and my retirement and I can't find a job and I've applied to hundreds of jobs and please somebody help me. It's heartbreaking and I'm sensitive to that. So, if you need a job, go get yourself a job that sort of gets yourself some money in your bank account. But I do think, when you're at a stage in your life and in your career, you've sort of figured out, okay, these are the things that I enjoy. And I might be good at a bunch of other things, but I absolutely hate doing them, which was one of the conundrums that I faced when I was dealing with it was actually a couple of years after the White House. And I was just sort of, do I keep doing what I'm doing? What the hell am I doing? How do I do? And I went to a career counselor and we sort of did all sorts of personality assessments and all the things you do. And it turns out I'm very, very good at a bunch of things I absolutely hate doing. And so the question becomes, how much energy and effort do you invest in those things? Um, yeah. And I think as you get older and as you go through life, you want happiness. There's some element of it. I, you know, anyway, I can
I
get
think it
very
also comes down
philosophical
to
here, but
well, I think it also comes down to the different aspects of the role as well. Um, Pat Lencioni wrote a book called Six Working Geniuses. I think it's on the shelf behind me.
yeah, you love this
And
author.
I do. It's one where I just find myself just literally nodding along as I read it. And he talks about there being six different types of roles, and I'm gonna describe this too really badly. Hold on. It'd be much
She's
easier if I
getting out the
just
book.
moved
She's
off
cracking it open.
moved off Vader. Got the book. There we go. Gonna need to find the actual diagram. There we go. So of wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. Now, Rachael will tell everyone this. I may be described as having tenacity, but tenacity in this definition is the person who makes sure that all of the things are ticked off at the end. It is sort of making sure that every task is finished. That's not me. For me, mine is the discernment, is just having this innate knowing of whether something's a good idea or not. So those people who skew more towards the wonder and the invention, the wonder is asking the question, the invention is solving it and having the ideas. And his argument is you need a mixture of all of those. It's not that people aren't very good. Yes, I can complete all the tasks and tick everything off and make sure everything's done. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I don't do it. What it is that's the area that absolutely costs me the most energy-wise.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at everything I'm doing. It's a really interesting, and I think it's quite true when you're looking at teams and making sure you're not just getting different skills, different points of view, but also people who are going to thrive in different aspects of roles. So if you have people who are all just coming up with great ideas, amazing ideas, but you haven't got anyone at the end of that cycle making sure that the thing is done, it's useless, because you can have all the best ideas in the world, but if nothing happens.
Guess what I'm really good at and where I thrive and where I get all my energy from? Getting shit done. Getting shit done. So this is why we're perfect. This is why we're perfect.
This is why when I go, I've been thinking.
Yeah, those are the three scariest words in the in the English language. God forbid. I mean, every time Suzi says to me, I've been thinking, I sort of brace myself for takeoff because something crazy is going to come out of her mouth and it's going to be brilliant, but it's also going to be completely insane.
It's going to be, well, I will let you decide. You say if it's brilliant, but possibly insane. But the thing is, that's not the end of it. Without then
that's right.
The people who again thrive with making the stuff happen, it's just an idea. It's just me thinking. Yeah, you've told me enough. I think too much. But
no, I love that you think. It's great.
You have to have everything. It's really important. And again, that comes to, I know we'll talk about it another time, but that fit and friction. It's not that, from my perspective, I can't make things. I do make things happen. I make a lot of things happen.
Yes, you do.
But that added bit of it's not complementary as in we are the same. It's complementary as in it amplifies what we can do, because those strengths, those areas we get real energy from and really enjoy doing, are the ones that the other doesn't.
That's right. And I mean, I'm actually really excited to talk about fit and friction, but it would be remiss of us if we didn't talk about some other things.
I tell you what, let's do fit and friction next week. Let's actually make a plan, after us saying last week that plans are just to make you feel better. Let's make a plan to next week talk about fit and friction. But I did say I'd come back to the LinkedIn mojo.
Yes.
And there's just a little bit I want to say. I mean, I've built and run businesses, my own business before. And one of the things that people used to say to me was, that must be nice. You can charge what you want. You can have holidays and time off whenever you want. And the reality is, and anyone who's done this will know, the reality is very, very different. We have the minimum wage over here. And I can say probably most entrepreneurs in the beginning stages aren't even covering minimum wage. When you add in all of the hours, you end up working longer hours than you would do if you were an employee in a role.
For
You end up
sure.
doing what you have more pressure because it's not someone else's problem to solve. You are the only one. The buck stops with you. You are the one who has to solve some of these problems. And it goes up and down. You even when things are going really, really well, sometimes there's a lot of pressure. And the first thing that goes for me is when there's a lot going on and I have to be concentrating elsewhere, because I just couldn't think of anything to put on LinkedIn. Now, I did put stuff on there, but the actual sort of my more signature posts, which I did yesterday, and I just felt, it was just like something's clicked. I'm back in my happier place. I'm not, it wasn't bogged down, but there was a lot of things going on. And it was the thing that went out, that extra time to think about, I want to talk about this. And that's why my LinkedIn mojo is gone, because it's back.
And let me just say too that I've now tried to start a nonprofit, a business on my own, and now I'm doing this with you. And I will just say that you're going to blush now because I'm actually going to say very nice things about you. But
Just remember, I get to edit this, so I can probably just delete
you
the
do
whole
get
thing.
to edit it. That's absolutely true. But she did not pay me to say any of this, which is, I've talked to a number of women, friends of mine who are starting businesses, and I often say to them, I don't envy that you're doing this by yourself, or that you're doing it in a way where it's just so hard to start a business, and it's so hard to do it by yourself. Because what's great about us, I mean, there are a couple of things that are fabulous. Number one, we're in completely different time zones. So while you're working all day, that's my night. And so I wake up to like all of this activity that I can then deal with while you're sleeping. So we sort of have the 24-hour cycle reasonably well covered. There are a couple of hours where we don't, but for the most part, working 24 hours a day for the most part. That's number one. But number two is it's really hard to find somebody who both appreciates and understands the way in which you think and work and approach the world, complements it, because again, we're getting into fit and friction because it's my favorite thing. And then both of you, I mean, I often feel actually like I am not working at full capacity because my family life is just bananas. And people who have more than one child, I have absolutely no idea how they do anything, let alone start a business. But I think that the two of us are working really at the same altitude, right? In terms of what we're trying to produce, what we expect of each other. I've never felt like, oh, she's not working as hard as I am. There's just never been a question of that. I think you could probably argue that about me, but it's very unique to find somebody where you think, oh yeah, they're doing as much work as I am, and we're both committed to this and we're going to do it. And I think it's very hard to find, but when you find it, my God, it's pretty fabulous. But to wrap it all up into chief of staff land, an AI chief of staff, which does not exist. They are not the same thing. It's like calling a stethoscope a doctor. It's ridiculous. But you do need a task manager. You need something that's going to hold you accountable. And, I've found that there's some really interesting tools out there, one of which I have to plug because I begged them to let me be an ambassador. So I'm not even going to lie about it. Like I'm a full on, but everyone should try town.com because it actually makes all of our lives much easier. And I think it is the answer to, and I said to them, you're not allowed to position yourself as AI chief of staff. And they were like, no, 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 we're not. We are here to be your assistant. Like we're here to help support you in all of the things you want to do in the world. Which is absolutely the right answer, right? Because that is accurate. And I think in a world where this role is so confusing, people don't understand it, there's so much murkiness around it. Saying something as an AI chief of staff is deeply problematic because it only furthers that narrative of murkiness. And it doesn't really clarify what the role is, and it actually misidentifies it. So it's really important that I think AI is part of any person's business. I mean, I think it has to be at this point, but I do think that we need to acknowledge that, you don't have an AI CFO. So why, I mean, we glomp onto CFO, but really like you're not making hiring and firing decisions with your AI tool. And if you are, I worry a little bit about that.
I'm going to say, if you have an AI chief of staff, the argument to me would be, do you need a CEO? Could boards not just have an AI
Yeah.
CEO? I mean, I'm gonna say it because, again, what's the CEO there then for? Because surely everything that they can do can be put into AI. And that then brings me back to whose judgment.
Yeah.
That is the key thing, is whose judgment. My gosh, we started and finished on the same things. I mean, we did go around the houses, but we did start and finish on the same topic.
I have to say, I feel pretty good about that. Mostly because it
Can't promise it's going to
provides
happen
the
again.
air of we're organized and we know exactly what we're going to say. And really, that couldn't be further from the truth.
Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, you should maybe have a script," and I'm like, "Why? Why would we? Why? I mean, I don't want a script. It's
The wrong
just
question to ask. Wait, it's the wrong question because would you stick with a script? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's something telling me what to do, and I don't want
We
to be
could write a
told what to
script
do.
and then completely ignore it because that's ultimately what would happen. So why even bother?
Yeah. So that explains why this isn't scripted, because it would be a waste of time for us to actually write a script, because we would just go, yeah, but actually I want to speak about this. And I've just had this thought. And all of those other things that we wouldn't get to talk about.
Yeah. So maybe we should end it here because we did a really good job.
Cool. Right. I will see you in between, but we will be back next week.
We will be back next week for more fun in the sun. Bye-bye.